Yep, there's one. It's a good fish too. Welcome back to my lure box, folks. In today's video, I've got 10 tips for you on how to catch fish when the wind's up and the water's dirty. There it goes. Let's get into it. Yep, there's a fish right off the edge. There we go. That's what we want. Beautiful. Don't know whether you can see the weed edge there, but it was really obvious to me with my sunnies on through those lenses, the polarized lenses, and boom. Oh, this one's covered in worms, mate. I might pick them off, give him a hand. Look at that. You might be able to see those worms crawling around on his belly. Mad scat on the nose. Having a bad go at this one. Might try and help him out. Get those hooks out. These mad scads, they are great fun on the flats. There you go, get your worms off yourself, laddie. He's managed to get his worms off. Now they're on my boat. There you go, mate. You might be able to see this here. If you can't pick up the colour change because of the polarised lenses I'm running, should run a polarised filter on the GoPro lens, I reckon. But right here, you can often pick up the change in the surface water, okay, as it rolls over an edge, either up or down the water's edge. And that's what you can go looking for on the flats. A few of the more recent flathead videos that I've been doing, I'm fishing on these little disturbances and throwing into these little disturbed edges. And at the right height, they often show up on the surface. So when the tide is ripping out at that right height, which is usually under a metre, that's a key kind of time for these flathead to be feeding. So you can literally just go looking for those as you're driving up the river. And when you find them, they're worth fishing. Oh, there's a hit. Come on, floody. Yep, got it. Oh, I don't know if it's a floody or not. It might be. I'm going to drop my drag. It is. It's a nice floody. There we go. On the mad scud. Oh, that's a bit smaller than I thought. But there it is all the same, folks. Floody on the mad scud. I'm just drifting along this mud bank here. You can probably tell by the colour of that floody that I'm over the mud. Come on, buddy. Come on. Play the game, buddy. There you go, folks. Have a look at that. Mad Scud doing the damage. It's a humble start, but I reckon I'm in for a few more of these, which should be good fun. Get this one back in the water. You can see those really light gauge hooks there. They're super sharp and pinny, but you got to be careful. If you pull too hard, you can just pull through some of the soft tissue around the fish's mouth. So I've lost a couple of fish because of that, because I'm used to fishing with these jig heads that have got a heavier hook, and I've just had to back my drag off to sort of fight the fish, play it in a little bit softer, still keep the tension on the fish on the way to the boat, but that way I've just sort of managed to get it in instead of losing it on the way in by tearing some of that soft tissue. God, they're so catchy, these hooks. There we go. There it is, the little Mad Scud. We're going to keep throwing this around, hopefully pull a few more. It's good fun. They're great in the wind. Geez, they cast well. Might just circle back around there. Fish that section again. Oh, is that on? Nope. No, that's weed. There you go, very next cast I can see what I was sort of fishing along the edge of. The wind's made it dirty and very difficult to see what's underneath the surface at the moment. Even with my polarised sunnies, I can only just make up some edges of weed and that kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to get along the edge of. The flathead is sitting right up against the edge of that weed. Makes sense with their dark colour, their back. They're trying to camouflage right in against the weed, sitting in the mud. I'm waiting for a Mad Scud. Oh, is that a fish? More weed. Ah, alright. Keep trying to fish along here, I reckon. Yep. Oh. I think maybe not floody. Oh. This could be slightly annoying if it is what I think it is. What are you? Oh. Well, I'm actually glad about that because that was a big stingray. And I did not want to have to work on getting that out. You kind of run the risk a little bit of foul hooking a stingray when you've got these really catchy hooks sitting underneath the lure. But generally they can pop off pretty easy. All right, let's keep going. Flathead, please, flathead. I saw the big tail, so I know what it was. Big old fluvy. Oh, yep. Whoa, on the way in. Now, I actually don't think that was the fish that hit me first. I think there might have been two there because I got a got belted then when I wasn't quite ready for it. I think there might have been a slightly bigger one there, because what that did to my rod, the shockwave it sent through down to my hand, was a lot bigger than that little fish is capable of, I think. God. And they do sort of get around together, and these little ones are really fast. So if the big fish misses, it can be the case the little one sneaks around in front and tries to grab it, but it's a cheeky move, because those big flatties, I'll take those little ones no problem at all. Anyway, I was ripping that. Just like rip. I'd like to share some tips with you on how I like to go about chasing flathead when the wind gets up and I'm fishing over these mud banks and the water starts to get really dirty and murky. One of my favourite ways to chase flathead is in the clear on the flats, and that can be over mud as well. But once that wind starts to get up, especially if it's blowing up onto a bank, it can make it really dirty, and then that viz goes down, and I think it has an effect on your flathead fishing. They can't see these lures from far away, and they're really visual feeders. So a couple of things that I like to do when I'm chasing flathead out on the flats, if that wind gets up in the morning, I tend to try and find pockets where there's sandbanks or mud flats with yabby holes and bait sitting in the calmer areas. You might be able to see here, but maybe around to the side there, if I can show you to the side, it's really windy and there's a wind blow through a little creek entrance here. That's going over the mud and stirring all the mud up, so the visibility's going down, and I try to steer away from that. It's okay to fish onto the edge of it if there's tidal flow and that sort of thing, and use that edge, but generally what I try to do is find these pockets, these quiet pockets where the visibility is way better. Often the bait will come and sit up in these shallows, so they're not having to fight the tide, fight the wind and get blown around in that wind too. So I'll try and get right up into these edges here, and that's how I like to fish for them. A couple of things you can consider when you're doing that is you want to be really quiet. So a light setup like this, 2500, that's my Vanford, with like 6 pound line, allows you to get big long casts. Because if you're fishing in these shallows where the visibility is really good, you can spook a lot of fish too. So long casts with a nice, this is like a 7-foot rod. This is my 270M. This is a Zodias rod, but long casts with a lure that can get away from the boat, so you're not spooking those fish with the boat or your presence. That helps you to get onto some more fish too. The other thing it allows you to do is spot the edges of the weed beds. You want to fish around those weed beds, and if you've got a little soft plastic lure or something like this little mad scad, it means you can just work it right along the edges over the top, drop it down on the edge of where the weed meets the sand or the mud. Makes a big difference to your catch rates if that's what you're going to try and do. There's a little pocket over here. I might just take you over here. We can have a look over here. There's a little pocket over here where the water's sort of pushing into, but it's protected in the corner. And I think that might be a spot where we could pick up a flathead. So it's still got tidal flow, but because it's protected, it's sort of stopping in there and it's pooling in there. And often that's where a lot of bait is. The flathead will go and sit and edge up onto that. There's a little creek coming out of here too. I actually haven't fished this for years and years and years, but I reckon just looking at it now, the way that the wind's blowing in here, I think we're a chance. So the tide's dropping and there's plenty of water movement. I think it's still a little bit high tide, you know, too much water over these flats to really get that bite cooking. Often it's a timing thing where that bite will come on, the bottom half of the run out. Let's have a look. So I've just stopped my Minn Kota. The wind's sort of going to blow me hopefully in towards there, and hopefully I can get a couple of casts without having to wake everything up on the flats by using my Minn Kota. If you're clicking off, you know, speed 0 to 2s to 0 to 3, you're going to see like stingrays. As soon as you do it, stingrays and flatties, bait, it all just shoots off as soon as you turn that motor on. So I use my little silent anchor, my little plonk. You can use a brick on a rope if you want, just to help slow you down in silence. That's a great little move when you're on the flats. Just going to see if there's a little floodie that's sitting around. There's a bit of structure on here actually too. Stick. Lots of timber that's blown in here in the last couple of weeks. We've had heaps of rain and runoff, and it's made it really challenging, but there's still fishing to be had. I love to look and find these areas that have got these yabby holes and hopefully some bait around. You should be sort of looking for pockets where you've got about 1 metre of visibility, so I can see the bottom from here, and that's enough for me. If it's 1 metre deep and you can't see the bottom, you can still catch fish, but I reckon it's a lot harder. It's not always the case that I'm trying to get out of the wind. Some mornings I love that wind blow on the surface of the water. It disturbs the bait. It hides my approach as well. But that's more if it's really clear conditions. When it's already muddied up and there's tidal flow over these mud flats, I'm trying to find those little pockets where it's a lot clearer. I'm going to head back up here. You might be able to see this area here that's a lot more protected than the rest of the bank and the flats. See if I can get another one. I really think this mad scud lure is great for searching across flats. Just as a little bit of a prospecting style of a lure. You're fishing over 1 metre or less of water, and that's probably where it's best going to be used for flathead fishing. It's got a slow sink, so it sinks a lot slower than a soft plastic lure. And I think that's the best fishing time, is when a lure is on the drop. So as it's moving through the water, it might be getting picked up by flathead, but it's when it stops and starts to fall down, that's a key moment for the flathead to come in and take it. And the slower it can be, whether it's a soft plastic, my soft glides, or a little mad scud like this, I think it's the best it can get. The only problem with that is you still want to be in contact or close to the bottom, really close to the bottom. Often the flathead will fish in, it will attack in that 2 plane at the bottom, you know, right at the bottom, that 2D plane. It's rare that they're going to come up unless they're really excited and feeding hard. So having it sort of close to the bottom, that's why I reckon 1 metre or less for this mad scud. That's the way to prospect. If it's over 1 metre, it's probably too deep and you've got to slow down too much and you can't search and prospect and find the fish. You're better off using, you know, like a regular jig head style with the soft plastic pulled onto the back end of that hook. But this little thing, she fires out there. She's great for casting into the wind even. And then the way it flicks across the flats, if there's a metre of visibility, it's shimmer and it's flash and shine, especially in these natural colours. That's ideal, I think. Yep, oh, that was a hit. Come on, come on. That was a nice fish, that. Real solid, eh? Try him again. Come back, fishy. Fishy, fishy. Yep, there's a fish. Nice, there we go, folks. I'll just come over to this little pocket that's just hidden out of the wind a little bit, out of the tide. And I think a pretty good fish. It's trying to stay down. I've backed my drag off, not because I'm a YouTuber and love to hear it scream. Well, I do like to hear it scream, but these tiny little hooks on this mad scud, there it is. They can pull fairly easy on the soft flesh of the flathead's mouth, especially if they're caught on the outer side of the flathead. Oh yeah, that's about it's a legal fish. It'd be perfect for the pan if I was doing that, but there we go. I'll give you a look at this one. That is exactly what I was hoping to pull today. Perfect. There it is. And you can see that the way that lure just shines so beautifully, catches the sunlight. There she is. Oh, she's a bit hidden in there. There you go. Perfect fish for the pan. It's your lucky day though, buddy, because you're going to go back. Yeah, there we go. All right. So hopefully he can play the game, because if he doesn't, it can bend all these hooks. Oh, all right, he's off the lure. That's good. I'll give you a look at him. Come here, buddy. There you go, folks. And that's what I was after. Beautiful flathead. Probably around that mid-40s, I'd say. Off you go, mate. And a mad scad getting it done. A lot of fun to fish with this little thing. A great finish on it. Look at that. More to come, I reckon. It just found that little pocket of water that wasn't as dirty as the rest of it, and it's making a difference. Let's go. It only came out of probably 50 centimetres of water. It's on the other side of that little bank, actually. See if we can get another one in here. There's a second bank, so there's the edge there, and then there's a weed pocket in a little channel, and then it comes up to another bank, and that's where I was fishing. I was just tossing it over the back there to see if there was any smaller fish, those school-sized fish right up on the other side. There might be a bigger one off this edge, I reckon. We'll have to wait and see. We're going to fish both sides of it. Hopefully we can pull another one. Go. It makes sense with the tide the way that it is, that the little bait is going to be trying to get down the system or hide out on those shallows, stay up there as long as it can. And that's where that feeding flathead had parked itself, just in that tiny little drop zone over on the other side there. Okay. Try again.